Hello everybody, welcome back to the Covered End for your latest Charlton updates, as 4 Charlton players may be leaving before the transfer window slams shut. Giassimi, Alex Gilbey, Craig McGilvery and Jake Forster-Caskey could potentially leave the club. Ben Garner has stated he wants a centre-back, and in the Cup, Charlton progressed to the third round where we are going to be facing off against Stevenage. Let's talk through everything that's going on in the Charlton world in a little bit more detail. So, let's zone in on those transfers that I spoke about, those potential outgoing transfers. We have Diolang Giassimi, who scored the singular goal that progressed us to the third round of the Carabao Cup against Walsall on Tuesday evening. It's not that much of a shock. I think if any of our wingers were going to be sold, I think most people would have expected it to be Giassimi. The shocking thing in this piece of news, if you can call it shocking, is that we are selling a winger, or we are looking to sell a winger. You know what? I have to be careful how I phrase these things, because what it really is there's interest in Giassimi as opposed to Charlton have said, we want to sell you. I just think Charlton will probably be open to it if we can get a profit on what we paid for him. I think we bought him from Swindon, wasn't it? Before the more recent Swindon coup, where we signed Payne and Wallacott and one other who I can't think off the top of my head right now. Egbo, there we go. But yeah, Giassimi, an ex-Swindon player who I think we paid an actual transfer fee for, if I'm not wrong, if I'm not mistaken there. And yeah, as I say, if we can get a profit on that, I can imagine us maybe looking at selling him, especially with the introduction of Raksaki and of course Miles Leaburn, who is definitely able to operate on that right wing. We've also got people like Charles Claydon. I believe he's left-footed, currently playing at left back. But when Sessegnon hopefully comes back from injury soon, Charles Claydon is a left-footed player who in his youth days did play on the wing and up front. So that is an option if Charles Claydon does sort of perform well. Can he operate on that right wing as the backup to Raksaki? It would be 2 youngsters, because Giassimi's a little bit more mature. I think he's about 24, 25, isn't he, Giassimi? So yeah, potentially a loss of someone with a bit more experience, but also we may end up reinvesting that in another winger, or potentially even bringing one in on loan. Of course, we do have Blackett Taylor, Charlie Kirk, and as I mentioned, Raksaki and Leaburn as well. So you know, there's not a huge drought of players in that position. Let's move on to Alex Gilbey then. So he has probably been the most expected to leave, alongside I'd say Craig McGilvery as well, those two. And Gilbey is potentially looking at a move to Lincoln. However, this has been sort of brought to an end, because he actually has revealed he wants to live closer to his home, or work or play football closer to where he actually lives. So that's interesting. I don't know if that's sort of Alex Gilbey going, you know what, I actually want to stay around and fight for my place. I've got a year left on my contract. I want to see it out, and I want to actually prove to this manager that I can play a role in this team. Or is it actually that he just wants to go to more of a Wimbledon or a Wycombe or someone along those lines that's actually sort of in London, in the south, and it genuinely is just that he wants to be close to home. But between him and Forster-Caskey, and I've mentioned this on the Covered End before, I would absolutely rather lose Alex Gilbey. And I don't think he's a bad player, Gilbey, but he has been inconsistent for Charlton, hasn't quite reached those same numbers that he did for MK Dons before us. And he probably is the one that we'd feel the least if he left. In terms of that midfield, we've got plenty of cover in there. We've got Morgan, Dobson and Payne. No, who's been starting for us? Dobson, Fraser, that's it. And Morgan, that's Ben Garner's preferred midfield. And then beyond that, you do have McGrandles and Payne. McGrandles obviously I think he fractured his hand, so he's got to go and have an operation on that. So that maybe frees up Forster-Caskey staying, or one of Gilbey or Forster-Caskey staying, depending on who Ben Garner prefers and depending on who's more likely to get a transfer fee, I suppose. Craig McGilvery then is obviously last season's number 1. We kind of knew that this was coming. Charlton have opened to offers for Craig McGilvery. He has 1 year left on his deal, and then he can leave under a Bosman ruling, free transfer next year. I don't know if anyone's going to come in for a late swoop. I mean, he didn't play that well last season, but he's also a solid goalkeeper at League One level. You can imagine somebody like I'm just going to name a random team here, but like a Burton or some sort of team like that. A sort of a mid-table, I know Burton are rock bottom at the moment, but a mid-table kind of League One team. You can definitely see Craig McGilvery at one of those, and maybe we could get, I don't know, 100k for him maybe, who knows. Forster-Caskey was the last one on my list here, and we kind of spoke about him when we spoke about Gilbey, but just to reinstate that point, I think Gilbey and Forster-Caskey, I think losing both of them would be too much. The way that the management and Thomas Sandgaard may look at this would probably be, okay, if we can get a fee for them and potentially reinvest at least some of that fee, then there's a chance that Gilby and Forster-Caskey would go. But my personal opinion, and you guys know this if you've watched previous episodes of the Covenant and followed me on Twitter as well, at JamieBoxallYT, you know that Forster-Caskey, in my opinion, is our best midfielder at the club. And that may change over the course of the season. You know, Morgan started pretty well, but still has those off-the-ball issues, in my opinion. We've spoken about that before. And, you know, McGrandles has just got an injury. Jack Payne's playing out on the wing at times, or he did at least against Walsall in the Cup. And so I think losing Forster-Caskey and Gilby together doesn't allow for an injury crisis, and God knows we are susceptible to injury crises because they have happened pretty much every season for the last 5 seasons at Charlton, to be honest, at some point or another in the season. So, yeah, I would definitely rather lose Gilby than Forster-Caskey. It does look like with McGrandles' injury, I saw somebody report, they didn't have a load of followers, but it was like a journalist who reported that Forster-Caskey may now stay because of the McGrandles injury. And that's alarming to me, and I'll tell you why. That seems like really reactive thinking, not proactive thinking. That shows me that we were sitting there and going, oh, we'll let Forster-Caskey go because we've got McGrandles. The second he got injured, we're like, no, we need to keep him. We should have foreseen that we're probably going to pick up an injury or two over the season in midfield. We're progressing in the Cups. We've got 46 games to play in the league. We need to keep, I think, one of these players, Gilby or Forster-Caskey. However, Aaron Henry is coming through, and of course he scored the goal in the second round of the Carabao Cup. Fantastic equaliser against QPR at the Valley in front of the fans in the Covent End. And this guy looks like he could be special in the future. He looks like the new protege in midfield, the new Albie Morgan from a few years ago, if you like. And so potentially, especially if Garner's been told by the powers that be, Sandgaard, etc., we need to bring youth talent through this year. They need to get game time. We need to start selling some of our players or even just bringing them through to help our progression to the Championship. Aaron Henry is at the forefront of that. He's going to be definitely one of the main players coming through alongside Lee Byrne and I say Carnu and Claydon. We haven't seen much of Carnu this season, but Claydon we certainly have. And Chin has also made the bench and started against Walsall in the Cup as well and played pretty well. So interesting. Let me know what you think about. I did put this question to you in one of the recent episodes as well. But do you think that we can afford to lose both Gilby and Forster-Caskey? I just can't. In my head, I can't comprehend a world where a coach or a manager can look at Forster-Caskey playing football. He was our player of the season before he got injured, right? And go, yeah, I'm happy to lose him. It doesn't make sense to me unless Forster-Caskey's gone to Charlton himself and gone, I want to leave. This doesn't sit right with me. However, we have been playing pretty well. The last 2 results, as I discussed, Charlton progressing the Cup with the 1-0 away victory against Walsall. We now have Stevenage in round 3. Round 3, I think, yeah. So QPR was round 1, Walsall round 2. Yeah, so round 3 of the Cup. And yeah, we progress, and we also got a draw recently against Cambridge in the league, which was a bit of a disappointment really from a Charlton perspective. Cambridge, probably a team that you're going to see towards the lower end of mid-table, I would imagine. And so we really should have got 3 points against them. I've seen a few people saying that Forster-Caskey would have been a good player to bring on in that game to just change things, to bring on somebody who's got a little bit of talent, a little bit of football intelligence. I also saw some strange comments, and this is the first time I've sort of thought, that's a weird thing for Garner to say. Garner is very cautious and pragmatic when he talks about things like transfers. In fact, Gilby was omitted from the squad against Walsall. Apparently he was due to start, and this could just be true, but I thought this is just a way to manage a situation that we don't know what's going to happen at the end of it. Maybe Gilby was omitted from the squad, and maybe he was just dropped and we're just not playing him because we think we're going to sell him. And maybe Ben Garner was sort of dressing it up a little bit and saying, oh, he was meant to start, but he got injured, he got a knock. So we won't know until, I suppose, Gilby does. Either something happens with the Gilby thing, or he starts a game or makes the bench or something. We just won't know. So that was interesting. And then the other comment that he made was that he included Henry on the bench against Cambridge over Jake Forster-Caskey because he wanted a set-piece specialist. I believe were his words. I think he said something, and a set-piece specialist. Now, to me, Forster-Caskey is our best corner taker at the club. I mean, Morgan's been really good at set-pieces. Corner specifically, isn't he, for a little while. But Forster-Caskey is probably the other guy who you go, yeah, he can take a corner. Probably Jack Payne now as well, because he's got a sweet strike on him. But it was a bit of a weird comment to me, because I don't think you include Aaron Henry over Forster-Caskey to include a set-piece taker. I don't know, maybe Aaron Henry really is just an unbelievable set-piece taker, and he is much better than Forster-Caskey, but it just didn't make sense to me. So we may be seeing a little bit of Ben Garner dressing up the truth, concealing information from the fans, and being pragmatic and media trained, I suppose. So we'll see. Overall, though, I am impressed with the first sort of 5 or 6 games, if you include the cup games of the season, and I'm looking forward to our game on Saturday. And if we do win it or draw it, we're probably going to see after the first 5 league games us being in the top 6, which is probably where the manager and probably where the owner wanted us to be. So as long as we take some points on Saturday, I do believe that we are in good stead to continue growing and evolving our playing style under this manager. What we don't want to see is that new manager bounce end and us to go stagnant and start picking up draws at home all the time against teams like we were last season. Accrington we've drew with already, haven't we? I know that was away, and then Cambridge. We need to win those types of games. So that is it for today, guys. Who are we playing on Saturday? Let me just quickly check. So on Saturday, I know we're away. Let's have a little look. I should know this. I should be way more prepared than this, but we have Wycombe away, which is a big game. A game which is against a recently relegated side from the Championship, and a game which we will be hoping to at least get a point from, I'll say, and then we should be there or thereabouts in the top 6. Maybe we'll drop a couple of places down to 8th or 9th if we take a point, but it's a big game, and we'll see how much this Charlton team have evolved over the first few games of the season once we're at the end of that Wycombe game. And I'm going to predict a 2-2 draw. I think we are very susceptible to conceding goals, and that is exemplified by Ben Garner's want of a new centre-back. In terms of transfer incomings, he does want a new centre-back as a priority, and I definitely think that people are getting carried away with this hysteria of we need a new striker. We don't really. I mean, it'll be lovely to have a new striker, don't get me wrong, in the profile of a Washington, but we're playing with one striker up front now. Leeburn is the real deal, for one thing. Stockley, as much as people are slating him, he is a good striker, and he has been involved beyond his one goal this season, his penalty. He has been involved, in fact, just for the Cambridge goal the other day, he literally provided the assist for that. So Stockley is a top striker at this level, and I don't think it's a good thing for us to be on his back and start. I mean, I've likened him to Simon Mackinock recently, so pot calling the kettle black a little bit, a little bit out of order for me to say that. But my true belief is that Stockley needs a little bit of encouragement, love, and he is a really good striker. And then obviously Anike will come back. I know he's injury prone, but he will come back at some point. And then Leeburn is a fantastic option up front as well. Would I like a striker? Yes. Do I think that we need a left back and a centre back before a striker? Yes. So that's my take on that. Let me know all your thoughts, guys, and let me know what your score predictions are for the Wycombe v Charlton game. This has been The Covered End. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and please like the video because it really helps me out and lets me know you're enjoying these episodes as well. Leave all your thoughts below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Up the attics.